And if that is the only reason why you call it to a party, it was because they needed someone to work for free? It seems like a question with a strong, but a lot of the time, this is the reality of the unseen who is always there, but never really developed. Have you ever gone through something like this? Maybe it was a birthday, a family get-together, or even on a more formal, where, even with all of his physical presence, the feeling of being only a part of the holder, the invisible hand, it was inevitable. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised. A lot of the time, this sense of exclusion, quiet, it's more common than it seems, and it turns out it's much bigger than just an attitude, distracted. The story that I am going to tell is about a man who, in spite of the important role they play in the life of a family, and it was never seen as a part of the heart of the celebration. It is a story that reveals how, at a certain moment, the invitation to take part in a meeting of a family in a condition of quiet, it's not to celebrate, but to serve. And this, even though it is often not speaking, you feel it on the skin for anyone who is being left out. So anyone who becomes a figure that takes care of the children, it serves as a food, and it keeps your things organized, while all around, they are immersed in the joy of the conversation, the laughter all around you. You can't imagine the pain of a man who, upon entering the room, you realize that your presence is not acknowledged as a part of the moment, but as someone who should be there, just to fill a position. This is the feeling of being invisible. It does not belong to this is really something that a lot of people to bear it silently. And the worst of all is to learn that many times, that if it connects to something deeper, beyond the simple act of care or to help you out, it can be attached to a subtle form of racism, exclusion, and to deny the affection and respect of those who, because of their race, age, or condition, it is reduced to a supporting role, to be of service. Stay with me until the very end, because they understand this is the very first step for you to read in the small actions of day-to-day that you can reinforce this is to be silently deleted. The more of a particular story fits all of us, it questions the extent to which our actions are contributing to an environment of inclusion and or changes. And if you notice all these details, we can make a change in the way we welcome anyone who is going on around us, fostering relationships, which are more human, more just. The journey that follows will make you think about how many times someone was made only to serve and not to be entered into. Have you ever gone through something like that? Stay with me, because this story is just getting started. If you can identify with the story, leave it here in the comments which one you like and touched up to now. That's an experience that you've been living with. What you need to do is to think about it. Your participation is very important in order for this conversation to continue living, and that the channel can grow and reaching out to more and more people who are also seeking to understand and will transform those relationships. Like the video to help spread this message by showing that it is this subject matter, and it is worthwhile to continue to ruminate on it. If you want to be a part of a community that values honest dialogue and the growth of the collective, if you subscribe to the channel, here, every comment, every enjoy, and every application to help us create content that is more and more relevant and inspiring. After all, what would we do together? You have a bigger impact than you can imagine. It's an exchange of experiences strengthens us in our journey. So don't hesitate to share your ideas, your emotions, and that's why we've built a network of support and understanding. Right now, we're going to move forward because there's still so much more to come in this story that will surely touch your heart and open up to new heights. I now want to go more in depth on this topic and explain how our daily decisions, however small they may seem, have a quiet strength that can turn the tide of history. Too often, we underestimate the power of the present moment, the one moment in which we choose to act, think, or react. Each choice, no matter how simple it may seem to you, it's like a seed that is planted in the soil of our subconscious mind, and its impact will only be realized in the future when we begin to reap the rewards of this decision. And, in the process, it is crucial to understand that our way of thinking, and it's the fertile soil where seeds can germinate or rot. If we nurture a vision for growth, constant learning, even in the most challenging obstacles become opportunities in disguise, will enable us to drive even more strongly to the front. The truth is hidden behind a lot of the success stories. It is that too often, they are the result of a series of small choices that you make it with courage and clarity. There is nothing extraordinary to do something a little different, but rather to maintain a consistent heading in the right direction, even when the road seems uncertain or challenging. In this constancy, in this discipline, to be silent is what makes a true transformation. And this is the day that we found out the behind the scenes of one's own potential, revealing the layers of the strength and resilience that you may not even imagine existed. When you understand that every decision is a key part of this puzzle, we begin to see the impact that our actions have not only our own lives, but also those who are around us. As we move forward, it is evident that the change does not come in a sudden snap, but the sequence of steps that are aware of this. It's like assembling a jigsaw puzzle. Each piece, no matter how small, is essential to complete the picture. And that's the image many times. This is a version of ourselves more in tune, more aware, and more powerful. This perspective leads us to reflect on the true meaning of success success, and that it is not necessary to conquer the immediate, but in continuous evolution, the ability to reinvent yourself and learn from every experience, whether positive or challenging. After all, it is the impact that we have on the world, starting within ourselves, in our mind, in our willingness to face life with courage and authenticity. However, this is a journey of transformation. It is not always linear and clear. It is common to face moments of crisis and uncertainty or hope, especially when the results don't show up as quickly as you'd like. But it is precisely in those moments when our inner strength is tested. And it's important to remember that these tests are opportunities in disguise for the strengthening of our faith in ourselves, in order to strengthen our convictions and to adjust the direction when it is needed. Many of the revelations are hidden in the rough, and it's in the way we approach these challenges reveal the true size of the potential. After all, life isn't just about reaching goals, but also about learning how to navigate through the storms with courage, knowing that a storm is going on, and that on the other hand, there is always an opportunity for growth. When you think about all of this, we've realized that we are not alone in this journey. In each experiment and every decision, with every win or lose, it's part of a network of invisible connections and lessons learned. This is a network of shared experiences, is what makes us strong, what makes us to understand that the journey is, in fact, that is constantly changing. And this change, in turn, is what allows us to look beyond the obvious to uncover the truths that are hidden behind the surface, and to understand the impact that we make on the world. It is, in fact, the extent of the impact that we allow him to be our own. Thus, each step taken with intention, each and every decision, with the consciousness, contributing to a story of a life more full, more authentic, and more in tune with who we really are, and we want it to. And then, at the end of this understanding in mind, it is the feeling that it all makes perfect sense, even though there are still too many questions unanswered. Because the journey is it's about learning to trust the process, and to appreciate every moment, and the fact that at the bottom are the main responsible for writing our own story. And this, more than any other factor that is external, it reflects our choices and our actions, and our way of thinking. And it's just such a deep connection with our inner selves and allows us to continue to evolve, even when your path seemed to clear it, knowing that with each step brings us closer to more and more of the truth of who you really are. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't happen with only a superficial understanding, and she proves it when we dive behind the scenes of our own mind and discover that the root of our decision-making. Too often, we carry the beliefs that were planted there in the early childhood, for example, by external influences, for the experiences that have profoundly marked our history, and these beliefs end up shaping our actions in a way that's almost automatic. It's like we're stuck in a script, invisible, to guide us in ways that, although they seem to be family members, a lot of times they do not represent the core of who we closer to the truth. The big reveal is that, in order to change the truth, we need to understand the impact of these internal beliefs. They can be used as a lens through which we view the world and ourselves. If the lens is distorted due to insecurity, fear, or self-criticism, of any decision you make will be affected by the filters, even though on the surface it may seem that we are not acting in a rational manner. It is at this point that the transformation is possible, because by identifying these patterns built in, you can start to question the stories we tell ourselves, and so make room for a new narrative, one that is more in tune with who we really are and the potential we have. And here comes the importance of the development of a mentality that is more aware of it. Do not you just might recognize these limiting beliefs. It is necessary to take an active role in order to replace them with beliefs that empower our autonomy and self-esteem. This is a change of mindset is about having the courage, because a lot of times it challenges everything that we have learned to believe about ourselves and the world around us. It is a journey of self-discovery that reveals the true motivations behind our actions, and he invites us to take control of our decision-making, rather than being the passenger of them. When you can't do that, you start to realize that your reality is a direct result of the choices we make within, and not just from the external environment. Another aspect that deserves attention is the impact of these changes is heard in our day-to-day life. Each and every decision, no matter how small, has the potential to open the door to what seemed to be out of reach. Just imagine that when you transform your mindset, you will begin to see possibilities where before you could only see limitations. This is a change of perspective is not only broadens your horizons, but also strengthens the confidence to face even bigger challenges and the knowledge that the power to shape your story is in your hands. It is at this point that the day-to-day becomes more and more clear, more real, because you get to act according to your deepest values, not driven by fear or patterns, are inherited, but a true understanding of who you are and the impact you want to leave out in the world. However, this transition does not happen overnight. It requires endurance, patience, and a dose of courage to face your own shadows. Many of the times we come across with the resistors are internal, and they seem like they are trying to keep us in your comfort zone, even though you know that this didn't work for us anymore. It's as if, when you try to move, a voice inside susurrus that we are not capable incapable, that you are not good enough, or for that this change is an illusion. And then, just at this time, the key is to strengthen our connection with our own inner truth. Remember that every step you take, no matter how small, is a victory that brings us closer to a more aligned and true to ourselves. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because they understand that, for the transformation begins from the inside to the outside, it is critical for us to really commit to this new mindset. And in doing so, we find that the impact of this change is not just limited to the personal sphere, but it echoes in all areas of our daily lives, influences, relationships, career, health, emotional, and even the way we see the world around us. Every decision you make shall be an expression of our understanding, and this creates a chain of actions, which gradually builds up to a new reality, the more in alignment with what we truly want and deserve. And in the process, the truth, the hidden, is revealed. They are the ones responsible for creating our own unique journey by transforming obstacles into opportunities, and to make each and every day is a new chance to improve. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we realize that all the things that we live in, even with the difficulties, the more difficult it is as a direct result of our own choices. Too often, we get stuck on the idea that the world is out there, it's responsible for our circumstances, but the truth is hidden. That is, that we are the main actors in our story. Understanding this requires a change of mind, in a sort of waking up to the fact that, even in times of the most challenging, we all have the power to choose how to react and which way to go, and what meaning you give to our experiences. When we assume this responsibility, we also understand that our reality is not a static, but a building on a daily by the thoughts, attitudes, and judgments. For each choice, as small as it may seem to you, it has the potential to create a new branch of our journey. It's as if you're writing a book in real time, with the only difference that we can rewrite the chapters at any time by setting the plot in accordance with what you actually want to achieve. This realization makes the impact of our actions, because we see that the control is in your hands, even though at times this responsibility may seem a little bit scary. This view also reveals another layer to the truth it hides, that our transformation is not dependent on external factors, such as, but to a change in its internal structure. It's like a seed that needs care, attention, and patience to flourish. And contrary to what many people think, this is the change in internal, is not something that is difficult or far away. It starts with small decisions daily, and a willingness to challenge old patterns of thinking and open up the space for new possibilities. It is a journey of self-discovery, where every step leads to a better understanding of who we are and what our true passion, our deepest values, and, particularly, the thing that really makes us feel alive. And then, when they realize that the connection between our internal decision-making and the impact of the external, we also understand that our time in history is at a kind of power in our choices, and intimate. Every obstacle, every failure, every moment of doubt, it's all part of the learning process, which enables us to something bigger than themselves. After all, life is like a test of our courage, our faith, and our resolve, in order to show that we are able to overcome any boundary when it comes to the leadership of our journey. It is as if, for each challenge, you'd be an opportunity in disguise, just waiting for you to have the courage to look beyond the surface. This revelation is liberating because it takes away from the position of a victim of circumstances and will put us in the position of the creator of our own reality. And in doing so, we also went to the understanding of the impact that we have on the world, and it starts in us. Our actions, our thoughts, and our emotions are some of the ingredients that helps to shape our history, and to turn these ingredients, we are changing all around us. It's a cycle that feeds back to a kind of domino effect as positive, which, once started, may lead to the attainment levels previously unimaginable. For all these reasons, it is critical that the U.S. cultivate a mindset of responsibility, aware, and a willingness to learn from each experience and look beyond what your eyes can see. After all, it is the journey of transformation is ongoing, and how much more will we awaken to the truth it hides, that are the primary responsibility for creating our own reality, the easier it is to move forward, even in the face of adversity. And, in the process, we have found that the biggest impact we can make is the one that begins inside of us, which is reflected in the way we think, act, and live in it. He comments that, it makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because many a times, we find yourself thinking about what is the change in the outside is what's really going to transform everything. We believe that it's a new start, a change in the city, or even in a relationship, other than to deal with our problems, when in fact, the real power is in how we choose to see it. This is one of the revelations of the most impressive that I have found along my journey. The mind is a very powerful tool, capable of shaping our reality in ways you might not imagine. And that transformation begins from the inside, in our mind, in our ability to open our eyes to the hidden truth that most would rather ignore. When we begin to understand that our everyday decisions, even those that seem minor, such as a thought, a negative, or a question, have a ripple effect on our lives, it changes everything in perspective. It's like a chain of influence, where where each and every choice, every action, build or tear down our own reality. And, in the process, many are surprised to learn that the one who really holds back the progress of that is a lack of opportunity, but it's a mentality that he is not limited to, on mining, with the thoughts of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. These are emotions that, often driven by deep-seated beliefs, we create a kind of invisible wall that blocks out any possibility of evolution to be real. The journey of transformation, so this is not something that happens in 1 hour to the next, is not solely dependent on external factors. It requires a deep connection to what we truly believe about ourselves and about the world around us. In this regard, it is essential to take a break to reflect on one's own decisions and the impact they have on the way. Many times we are so focused on results that are visible on the achievements of materials or at the validation on the outside that we forget to look at what is really important, that we are growing in all of us. This is one of the greatest truths that are hidden that only a few have the courage to admit to you, that the power of change lies in our ability to transform our way of thinking and to question our own beliefs and to reprogram your mind to something more in line with what we want to achieve. And this is the process of transforming the mental, is not an easy task. Having the courage to face your own shadows, to recognize patterns which have often been created since the early childhood or in the course of experiences that are difficult for you. You need to have the discipline to replace limiting thoughts that empower, words that reinforce our self-esteem, and attitude of gratitude and hope. In this regard, it is important to understand that real change doesn't come from a magical formula, but in the persistence of the daily fostering a growth mindset, learn from the obstacles, and celebrate even the small victories on the way. These small actions add up, creating a domino effect that radiates from the impact on our life as a whole. As I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that the journey of transformation, it is a decision that is continuous, with a daily choice to reinvent themselves and challenge the limits of what we've created for ourselves. It's as if we're constantly reviewing the script of our own history, and by writing new pages to the courage, determination, and hope. And, in doing so, we have found that the greater the rack of this whole narrative, that is, in fact, on the inside. That's where the real secrets are hiding out, just waiting to be revealed to those who have the courage to uncover their own hidden truths. And it is precisely this discovery opens the door to a life more full, more authentic, and truly transformed. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the major part of our decision-making, and the transformation only happens when we are unable to actually understand what is going on inside, at the very core of our being. Not enough search magic formulas, solutions, external or shortcuts, and if deep down, we are still stuck to the narrative that we have been shaping up over the years, sometimes without even realizing it. In this narrative, which we call the mind, is like a lens that filters out all of the live, and they influence our decisions in daily life. And a lot of times it is charged with limiting beliefs, fears, hopes, and even to a certain degree of resistance to change, which manifests itself in subtle ways, almost invisible. It is at this point that comes to the understanding of the impact of the transformation begins with an honest look at the inside. And for that, you need courage. Because many of the hidden truth that we are uncomfortable, they are challenging our comfort zones, and a lot of times, they confront what we believe to be our true nature. But it is precisely because of this confrontation, which holds the potential to transform the most powerful. When we decided to face our fears, our doubts, and our limitations, we offer the single most important step to change is genuine. It doesn't depend on external circumstances, but a change in its internal structure, which echoes through the whole of the journey. When you dive into the process of self-discovery, we've begun to realize that many of the limiting beliefs that are, in fact, of the buildings which have been created by past experiences, the influences of the atmosphere, or even the things that we were taught as absolute truth. But the question this belief seeking the source of them, and we set out to build a new narrative, one that is more in tune with who you really are and what we want in our life. It's a kind of revelation that is happening behind the scenes of the interior, a place where everything is brighter, more clear, more real. And this is where the idea of the real transformation is not a one-off event, but a continuous journey of self-discovery and evolution. Every decision we make, every reflection of what we make, every action we take is an opportunity to reaffirm our values as a way to strengthen our minds and to bring about a new reality. And this fact, in turn, has a direct impact on our ability to seize opportunities, overcome barriers, and to build a life that is truly meaningful to us. It's as if, once you understand what's really happening on the inside, we're releasing an invisible force that was always there, just waiting for the courage to show up. From this understanding, it is clear that the impact of our transformation depends, above all, of our willingness to look with honesty and courage. Don't even try to mask it or ignore what you feel, because those aspects are repressed, which tend to manifest in unpredictable ways and often sabotage our efforts in the most sincere. When faced with these moments of silence, of reflection, we were able to find our own truths that are hidden from much, and so they begin to build a mindset that is stronger, more resilient to the the hardships of the outside world. This change in perspective is what truly makes a world of difference in the way, because it gives you the power to decide who they really want to be, and regardless of the circumstances. And it is at this point that we realize that the most profound impact of the change is the connection that we make with ourselves. When we are able to establish a dialogue that is honest with who we are of the truth, we take an important step in our journey of evolution. And in doing so, we have also started to realize that many of our limitations are, in fact, the illusions created by the mind which has not yet been freed from her own prison. Of these arrests, many of the times it is hidden in our daily lives and in our comfort zone, the way we react to situations in the day-to-day. But when I asked for these reactions and to understand where they come from, we can begin to open up space for a new way of life, more self-aware, more authentic, and aligned with the core of who we closer to the truth. All of this shows that the transformation is, in its essence, it is a journey of rediscovery, in a journey that requires courage in the face of what's been hidden in order to accept the one that is not easy to accept, and to commit to making choices that are in line with what you truly believe in. In this process, we have found that the deepest truths are not in the opinion of others or the expectations of the outside, but on our own inner voice, the one that a lot of times it is hidden by doubts and insecurities. When we get to this voice, clearly, everything around you start to make more sense, and the extent to which increases in an amazing manner. And once you understand the dynamics, we find that the impact of a real transformation, it goes far beyond the results of the surface, or changes in time sensitive. It means the ability to live more fully, and with a conscience, for example, the feeling of freedom that comes from within, and is not dependent on external factors. This is freedom. This is the one that really pushes you to move forward even in the face of obstacles, more challenging, because it comes with a solid connection to our inner truth. And to build on those behind the scenes who keep our revelations, but more valuable, we begin to realize that each and every step taken in this direction, it is an opportunity for us to be versions of each of the more authentic we are, of ourselves, to positively impact everything around you with the strength that comes from within. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of transformation that we're living in. Don't. It's just a matter of changes in the external or the strategies to the surface. It is deeply rooted in our mind, our way of looking at the world, and especially in the decisions we make every day. It is as if for each choice there is a truth to hide, which often remains unseen by the eyes of the common, but one that, when discovered, it has the power to revolutionize everything. This is true most of the times. It is related to our built-in limitations, with the beliefs that we have learned throughout his life, and often work as a kind of filter that prevents us from achieving what we really want. When you immerse yourself in these scenes, we can begin to understand that true transformation happens first in all of us. This is a change of mindset, which in turn affect our actions, and inevitably, the impact that we leave on the world around us. And these changes did not occur in one time to another. It is an ongoing process. It is about having the courage to face the things that we'd rather ignore, and a genuine desire to improve. During this time, many of the revelations that have come to light to some tough, the other for freedom, but all of them are essential for us to be able to make the versions are the most authentic and powerful selves. From the moment we begin to understand the decisions that really helps to shape our own destiny, we find that the impact of the choices we make will go a long way beyond what we could ever imagine. Each and every decision, however small it may seem, carries a load, the potential to transform our reality. This is not just about making plans and setting goals, but to understand the why behind these actions. It is a matter of alignment with our inner selves, and to listen to our inner voice and have the courage to move in the direction that it actually does make sense for us. This is a journey of self-discovery, of self-acceptance, and the release of the constraints that often carry without notice. And as we've explored in these behind the scenes to internal, we can begin to unravel the layers of a deeper truth, that we are all responsible for our own lives. With this revelation, even though it may seem hard at first glance, it's liberating, because it puts you at the helm. It gives us the power to rewrite our story and create a new reality based on what we truly believe to be possible. At that moment, everything seemed to be out of our reach. It becomes part of a journey of endless possibilities. And even in the face of obstacles and challenges, and find strength in our own selves, in the knowledge that you are getting involved in a transformation that comes from the inside out. For this reason, every decision we take, every step we take, it is a key piece in the puzzle of our evolution. And then, in the understanding of the intimate connection between the choices we make and the impact they bring, we can begin to take better care of feeding our minds, our dreams, our feelings, and emotions. After all, it is the real change is not only external actions, but above all, with a paradigm shift in the view of the world from our minds. And the transformation begins when you've decided to look beyond the obvious, when we allow ourselves to explore the behind the scenes in our own personal beliefs, and to find out what, in fact, keeps us from moving forward. This finding, in itself, is a huge relief, because when you understand that, you can reprogram our decision-making and consequently in our history, we open up space for a new narrative, a story that should be written with a spirit of courage, authenticity, and purpose. And in doing so, we are connected with an inner strength that many times it is hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. It is our true essence. Our light is that, when ignited, lighting up the path and inspire others to do the same. And it is at this point that we begin to understand that transformation is not only about us, but about the impact we can make in the lives of those who accompany us, in the community, and the world. A journey of self-discovery and decision-making, it is, in fact, in a constant search for the alignment to live according to our deepest values. And, in doing so, we become agents of change, able to exert a positive influence on the entire supply chain, relationships, and opportunities. Each of the revelation, it's a piece that fits in the construction of a mindset that is stronger, more aware, and more responsible. Because in essence, everything we do is a reflection on the direct to those who are in the know. And the more aware we are of this type of connection, the more you will be able to use our decision-making as a tool of the impact of the transformation to be real. And so, we followed the process of discovery, delving deeper into understanding what is the greatest secret to a fulfilling life is the courage to face up to the truth hidden within ourselves and in the decision to work with a purpose. Each step in this direction will lead you to a new perspective, a new version of ourselves, the more in tune, more strong, and more than capable of turning dreams into realities. Because, in the end, that's the most important thing, to understand that we are the authors of our own story, and that is to unveil this truth within. We are only just beginning to explore the potential that lies within each and every one of us. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of transformation that we're talking about, is not only about the changes in the surface or the settings of the moment. It is, in fact, a revolution is built. It is a real change of paradigm, which is often rooted in such a profound way that you don't even realize. It is at this point that we begin to understand that true strength comes from the understanding of our own limitations, and most importantly, our ability to meet them. Each of the belief in limited, each of a fear that we have, it works as an invisible wall that prevents the progress of the transformation. It is just in time to knock down those barriers are built. And when you do that, we need to be mindful of our daily decisions, as they have a direct impact on our way of thinking. Making a simple decision, such as choosing to believe that it is possible to change or limit yourself to accept the fact that life will always be difficult and can determine the course of our history. In the process, it is common to find strength, self-doubt, and even the moments of despair, but it is during these times that we need the extra strength of a clarity of what it is all part of the path. That's what the feeling that the journey of self-discovery is a real eye-opener, a deconstruction of the old patterns that have accompanied us for years. It can no longer define who we are, in fact. When we grow in understanding, we see that the transformation is not something that happens to us at one time or another. This is a seamless construction, with a ladder that people rises step by step, knowing that every step, however small it may seem, it has a huge impact on our development. And this is the ladder often requires courage, because to confront our own personal truths, built it's not always easy. It takes courage to acknowledge our vulnerability and accept our own imperfections, and at the same time, to celebrate our strengths. This is the true essence of the process of change has an impact not only on the outside, but, above all, of our inner world. In this context, it is also important to understand that often carry a sort of truth to hide, which keeps us from moving forward. It may be a narrative of what we have learned in their childhood, a belief that has been imposed on someone who looked up to him, or even just a story we tell ourselves to justify what we don't, we can change it. In these stories, they often don't even realize that we function as a filter that distorts our perception of reality, is limited to our full potential. The most fascinating part of it is that, as we delve into our own history, we can find out what they are, most of the time, the buildings that we can write back. When we begin to understand this impact, it is clear that true liberation comes from self-knowledge and courage in the face of these truths that are hidden. This is a journey of discovery. With every revelation, it provides us with the tools to reprogram our minds and, therefore, to turn our common stock. And in doing so, we are not only changing what we do, but by changing who we are. This change in identity is the true key to a life more in tune, more fulfilling, and more meaningful life. By the end of this path of transformation, it also shows behind the scenes that often remain invisible. The internal battles that we wage, to the doubts that may arise in the most difficult moments, and the emotions that seem to consume us. Get to know these behind the scenes is critical to understand that we are not alone in this process, and they are all, in some way, go through similar struggles. And, when you share these experiences, we can strengthen our minds, and to learn from others and build a network of support, which improves even further on this journey of growth. And, as we reflect on all of this, there is the feeling that there is still so much more to discover, so many of the details that can make all the difference in our evolution. It is in this atmosphere of intellectual curiosity and courage that we can continue to explore behind the scenes of this change. You made known in the revelation of what is behind every step you take, every decision, every change of mindset. Because deep down, that the quest for self-knowledge and development is one of the greatest adventures that we live in, is a journey that never really ends, but it always takes us to the new world, more in line with who we really are and who we can become. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation does not change the external or the decisions of others. It is deeply rooted in our mind, in the way we think about life. We have our own high standards, invisible many times. They operate silently, guiding our actions and decisions without notice. It's as if they were living inside of him that has been built up over the course of time, full of limiting beliefs, fears, hidden, and a lot of times, a high degree of resistance to change. And it is precisely at this point that the true journey begins, when you ask for these stories, both internal and decide that in fact, that we want to rewrite the script. For many of us, we carry a kind of emotional baggage that influence your decision-making without even realizing it. This bed can be made up of past experiences, traumas, and expectations that have been imposed upon, or even in a culture that reinforces a certain limit. When we begin to understand that these elements shape our view of the world, a new window will open for self-transformation. You need to have the courage to look inward and acknowledge that sometimes we are our own obstacles. The change does not come from a momentary impulse. It is born out of a conscious process of decision-making, an approach deliberately to break down to rebuild it. In the process, behind the scenes of our minds, they become a breeding ground of revelation. We have found, for example, that many of our actions are automatic, is rooted in the belief that you don't even know that they exist, and that these beliefs may be sabotaging our own dreams come true. These revelations, the more uncomfortable they may be, act as a catalyst for a new sense of awareness. From there, we can begin to make choices that are more aligned with who you really are, rather than just reacting to the circumstances and the expectations of external stakeholders. It is as if, to unravel those behind the scenes, get a clarity to navigate through life with more authenticity and purpose. The other thing that is revealed in the moment of self-knowledge, the deeper it is, the importance of having a growth mindset. This idea is one of the pillars of the most powerful tool to transform, as it leads us to see the difficulties as well as opportunities for learning, rather than insurmountable obstacles. When we adopt this perspective, we begin to understand that growth is not linear, and that mistakes are a part of the path, and every step you take, even in the most difficult, they are contributing to the company's development. This is a change of mindset is, in fact, it's a decision that impacts every area of our lives, from personal relationships to how we think about our own limitations. Think about the transformation in such a way that it helps us understand the impact we can make on our own journey. It's bigger than we had imagined. Each made a conscious decision. Every action that is aligned with our core values, the echo outside of us, to influence the people around you, inspiring you to change the quiet that can be spread without any major alerts. It is a kind of ripple effect, internal to ourselves. We create a new life, a story more real and more powerful, and connecting with our dreams and our actions every day. However, this is a journey of self-discovery and change. It also requires a certain courage to face the many times we would prefer to conceal or deny it. Face up to the truth that is hidden, that which makes us uncomfortable or that it prevents us from moving forward. It is an important step for those who really want to improve, and this courage is born out of an in-depth understanding of what the change is, a choice and a daily decision to resist the temptation to stay in your comfort zone, even when the fear comes on strong. This is a movement to get out of your comfort zone that you begin to understand the real impact of your choices, and to understand that we are the authors of our own story, with the power to rewrite it each time you want to. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. It is because of this awareness that we have been able to create meaningful change also brings a responsibility to keep this movement alive, to go and explore the behind the scenes of our mind, and to challenge our own beliefs, and to open up space for new possibilities. And in this way, many of the revelations that come up, a lot of questions will also show up. But what really matters is the desire to keep on looking in, to stay open to change, even if they seem scary or uncertain. After all, it is the journey of self-discovery, is one of the greatest adventures that you can live with it, and its impact is huge, not only in our own lives, but in the way that we affect the world around us. And when you think about all of this, it is clear that the secret lies in the decision to change what we believe it to be impossible for a new achievement. This is a decision that comes from a connection to an internal, deep. You are able to open the doors which before seemed to be closed. You can create a new narrative, one that is more in tune with our true nature. It is a process of liberation, and discover the power to change is within all of us. And that is the journey. No matter how challenging it may be, it is worth every step with courage and determination. And then, at the end of it all, what it really is to make sure this change is the greatest proof that we are living in a constant state of evolution, always in the mood to come up with new versions of ourselves. He writes in, I'm on this journey too. If you've come this far, it's because they really believe believe that this is a journey of self-discovery and transformation. It's something that it's worth. And, speaking of worth it, I hope that the content that you have brought up, some thought, a little inspiration to go with a more lightweight and reliability. After all, you have to understand that the power of change is within each and every one of us, is a constant reminder that we are all the protagonists of our own lives, to be able to face any type of challenge, and to create new opportunities each and every day. If you get this message, it made sense to you. Leave a comment saying, "I'm with you till the end." It's always good to know how they are put together in this exchange, which is the one that has been shared with you here is really a part of your journey. And of course, if you like what you see, a like on the video, it helps to strengthen this connection by showing that the content is delivered value to true. Each and every enjoy it as a sign that we are on the right track to creating a community that learns, grows, and supports one another. To continue, in the wake of the discovery, there's a video right here on the side, which complements this subject. Click and keeps me up there so we could explore more of it together with everything that life has to offer. After all, this is a journey that doesn't end. It's a construction that is daily of who we are and who we want to be. So, stay with me and to the next one, which will definitely bring you more insights into their evolution.